بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are here so far, and alhamdulillah, continuing our weekly dars of laws of inheritance. And at the end of our last dars, we had mentioned that in today's dars, we will go over the summary, the khulasa of all of the ashab al-furud, all of the primary heirs. So what we have studied so far. So in case you missed any points, today will be a good dars to take those notes and inshallah refresh whatever we have learned so far without the examples. So it would just be the cases, the share, and the conditions. And towards the end, we will go over the cases that were presented to us. Inshallah, that will be covered, towards the end of our dars today. So as we remember, we went over the primary heirs by categories. And the first category that we started was spouse. In there was husband and wife, and then, for parents, grandparents, and so on and so forth. But we went by category. And just so we remember again, and just to refresh our minds, 8 females and 4 males. Total of 12 primary heirs. So the first person, or the first primary heir that we had went over, was husband, and he has 2 cases. So 2 scenarios: either he will be a recipient of 1/2, 50%, or he will be a recipient of 25%. He will receive 1/2 and the conditions are, so he will receive 1/2 in the absence of children and grandchildren. So when the wife passes away and she leaves no children, or all the wives that he had, if they all left him no children, so in that case the husband will receive 1/2, and at the same time, if there are no children and also no grandchildren, 1/2. But if he did have children, so in the presence of children of the wife and grandchildren, in that case, the husband will receive 1/4. So we are just going to go a little bit fast-paced, just so we are able to cover all of the ashab al-faraid, inshallah. So remember, for husband, 2 cases: 1/2 or 1/4. That's just how we're gonna remember them. And when we solve cases, inshallah, later on, by now, inshallah, we should have the ability to solve, very basic cases. So remember the base numbers: group number 1, group number 2. How do we find the base number? If 1/2, 1/4, or 1/8, it clashes with 2/3, 1/3, and 1/6, then the base number will depend on either 6, 12, or 24, whichever one it was in order. So the next one from that first category, and the first female, was wife. And wife also similarly has 2 cases. She will either receive 1/4 in the absence of children and grandchildren, or she will receive 1/8 in the presence of children and grandchildren. So where the husband dies and these conditions are met, whichever one, and depending on that, she will either receive 1/4 or 1/8. So again, for husband, 2, for wife, 2 cases. Husband 1/2, 1/4, and a wife's share is 1/4 and 1/8. The second category that we went over was parents. And for father, there are 3 cases. So the father will either receive 1/6 in the presence of a son or grandson. So in our dars, we had actually went over this, the third, as a second, but here is flipped just for the sake of remembering it easily. So the father's second case will be, he will become a residuary recipient, and it will be asaba entirely, and that would be in the absence of son, grandson, daughter, and granddaughter. So whenever these four are absent, and the mayyit leaves only a father, then the father will take the entire estate. That's what that means. Given the fact there aren't any other recipients with him. And the third case for father is he will receive 1/6 plus asaba. So he will be a recipient of 1/6. So, and plus ta'asib, plus residuary share. And that is in the presence of daughter and absence of son. So when the daughter is there and the son is not there, in that case, the father will receive 1/6 and whatever remains. So the leftover will also go to the father. So for mother, again, we had went over 1/6, 1/3, and then 1/3 of ma baqiya. But here the order is a little bit different, again, to make things a little bit easier. So again, the mother has three cases. She will either receive 1/3, and the conditions for that is that she will receive 1/3 in the absence of children, grandchildren, and 2 or more siblings, or she will receive 1/3 presence, and she will receive that 1/6 in the presence of children, grandchildren, and 2 or more siblings. So this 1/3 in the absence and 1/6 in the presence. Now 1/3 of ma baqiya, of whatever remains, that is in the presence of the spouse and father and the absence of children, grandchildren, and 2 or more siblings. And we went over those tamreen, the exercises, back when we were doing these this dars, that this scenario exists when there's a spouse and father and there are no children. So in that case, she will get thuluth ma baqiya. Thereafter, we went, the third category was for grandfather. So grandfather is pretty much identical to, the father. So as you can see, the father was receiving 1/6, and then he became asaba entirely, and then the father became 1/6 plus asaba. So grandfather is identical to the hal of a father. The fourth one being is that if the father exists, the grandfather is deprived. So all this will happen. So 1/6 in the absence of father and presence of a son. So if the father is there, then obviously automatically the grandfather is, mahrum, he would be eliminated. And then asaba, so it would be like if mayyit leaves behind only a grandfather, so an absence of father and absence of son. So if it's only grandfather, then he will become asaba. And the third case for grandfather is he will receive 1/6 plus asaba, and that would be absence of father and presence of daughter and absence of a son. So again, if the daughter comes, just like it came with father, only a daughter came, the father was receiving 1/6 plus asaba. 2 slides back. Similarly, it's for grandfather. He will receive 1/6 plus asaba, and that would be in the presence of daughter and absence of a son. But in this case, since his grandfather, absence of father again. So the father was just receiving 1/6 plus asaba in presence of a daughter and absence of a son. So just so we just remember this. And that's just the easiest way to remember, is that grandfather is pretty much the same thing. The cases for grandfather, same thing as a father. But only a fact that the absence of father is a shart. If the father exists, automatically grandfather is eliminated. Maternal grandmothers. So nannies, they have one case, and that is they receive 1/6, and that is in the absence of mother. So if the mother exists, then obviously they will be eliminated. If we recall those rules that we were doing in our weekly dars, in our red markings, over there we had indicated to this point that if the mother is there, then they will become eliminated. Paternal grandmothers, daddies, very pretty much same thing. So 1/6, they have one share as well, or one case, 1/6 they will receive, and the condition for that is an absence of mother and father. So here, this note to remember that in presence of both grandmothers, meaning Dadi and Nani, they will equally share the 1/6, whatever that, if they're granted that share, then they will share that equally. Then we went over the cases for daughters. So daughters, they will receive 1/2. So if it's one daughter and in absence of a son, that one daughter will receive nisf. If there are two or more daughters in the absence of a son, they will receive 2/3. And the third case for daughters is they become residuary shareholder. They become asaba in the presence of one or more son. So when a son comes, what happened? They became between them, amongst them, they would become asaba, and it would be للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. So like 2 shares for the son and 1 share for the daughter. And towards the end, our third case that was requested, we'll see this scenario in there, inshallah, and I'll indicate to that towards the end as well, how that applies. Thereafter, we went over the ahwal for paternal granddaughters. And if it's one paternal granddaughter, she will receive nisf just like the daughter, but the condition is in the absence of daughter and son. So, this is a condition. So when they're absent, only then we go to the next category. So remember, this is all closest to the mayyit, closest to the deceased. Whoever come closest, they will be given preference over the next relative. So if the daughter is there, then it changes the scenario. So she will receive 1/2 in the absence of daughter and son. If there are 2 paternal granddaughters, they will receive 2/3, just like the daughters. If there were 2 or more, they were also receiving 2/3. So this is in the absence of daughter and son. Now, in the presence of one daughter, so it changes, the whole scenario. So if one daughter comes, then and the son is still absent, then in that case, the paternal granddaughter will receive 1/6. And in the presence of grandson, so here we said, and excuse me, so the fourth one would be the paternal granddaughters, they will receive residuary share in the presence of grandson. So with paternal granddaughter, if came a grandchild or a grandson, then they will become asaba between them, just like a brother and sister would become asaba in their given scenario. Thereafter, we went over the cases for full sisters. So full sisters, very identical. So if it's one full sister and in the absence of son, in the absence of grandson, father, grandfather, daughter, and granddaughter, then that full sister will receive 1/2. If there are 2 or more full sisters in the absence of all the above, then in that case, the 2 full sisters will receive 2/3. The third case for full sister is that in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, and the presence of a full brother now. So it changes. Now a full brother came with this full sister. Again, this full sister becomes asaba now, becomes residuary share recipient. And the fourth case for full sister is that in absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, and the presence of daughter or daughters or granddaughters, then even in that case becomes asaba. I'll leave that up there for a little bit, so if you want to take down notes or something. Then we went over the ahwal of paternal sisters. So again, very identical. 1/2, if it's one paternal sister, she will receive 1/2 in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, sister, brother, daughter, and granddaughter. So when all of these are absent, she will receive 1/2 and will receive 2/3 if there are two paternal sisters, in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, sister, brother, daughter, and granddaughter, and there are two of them, then they will receive 2/3. So they each have their, the shares are similar, but the conditions are a little bit different. So these paternal sisters, they will receive 1/6 in presence of one sister now, and in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, brother, daughter, granddaughter. So in that case, we'll receive 1/6. The fourth scenario for paternal sisters is that they will become residuary shareholder. They will become asaba in the presence of paternal brother. So these paternal sisters become asaba every time their male opposite part comes. So paternal brother, when paternal brother comes, these paternal sister will become asaba. And of course, in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, and so on and so forth. And the fifth one is, again, they will be asaba shareholders in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, brother, and here now in the presence of daughter or daughters or granddaughters. So when the presence of daughters or granddaughters come, they're also asaba in that case. And in the presence of two full sister and a paternal half brother, they will also be asaba. And all of these absence, if they become, present, then they become mahrum. They will be eliminated. And the last category that we had went over, and this was our dars in our so this previous slide for paternal sisters, and this we went over that in our last dars, that maternal siblings, whether they're male or female, they have two cases. They will either receive 1/6, so if it's one maternal brother or one maternal sister, so in the absence of son, grandson, father, and grandfather, and daughter and granddaughter, then that one maternal sibling will receive 1/6. And if there are two or more, in the absence of son, grandson, father, grandfather, daughter, and granddaughter, then in that case, they will receive 1/3. So with that, we had completed our primary shareholders and their cases and their conditions and all of the tamarin, the exercises that we went over in all of our previous durus. Then towards the end, we had requested all of the participants if they would like us to solve their case or family case of inheritance and would like us to assist them in any way, then we had requested that you go ahead and send us an email, and inshallah we will go over it and discuss this as a dars anonymously. So far we've received 3 cases. So those 3 are being shared today, but just doing mashwara, we decided that we will extend that, and we have actually till till next Saturday. If you would like for us to go over your case, then we still have time, and inshallah we can just next dars can only be just the exercises and whatever the community shares with us and would like us to help them in solving that. So these are, again, I'm not mentioning any names, but these are anonymously being shared. So some brothers they requested these masail. So the next 3, that's what we'll see. So here in this case, Fatima passes away. She leaves behind a husband, she leaves behind 2 daughters, and she left behind 10 brothers. So we know that when there are children, the husband will not receive 1/2, but in fact he will receive 1/4. And we know that if it's 1 daughter, she will receive 1/2. But if it's 2 daughters, the daughters receive 2/3. That's what you'll see. Basically, instead of writing in an Arabic thuluthan, I decided to just to make things easier for remembrance, they will receive 2/3. And then we know that brothers here, they will become asaba, so they will receive leftover. So now we come down to the main masala, that rubu' right here is what the husband was receiving was clashing from group number 2 with thuluthan. And remember, we had said that when group one, when nisf comes with thuluthan or one third, with 2/3 or 1/3 or 1/6, then the base number will be 6. But here, since it's 1/4 clashing with 2/3 from group number 2, then the base number will be 12. And that's what we'll see up top here. So we come to know that our base number is 12. So we had to deal with that. So the husband receives 1/4 of the 12 now, which is 3. And we gave that 3 here. And then 2 daughters, they receive 2/3. So 2/3 of the 12 is 8, what you see right here. So 3 plus 8 equals 11. Now, when 11 is deducted from 12, we are left with only 1. But now we cannot give that 1 to these 10 brothers. So we have an issue, and that's where that, next arrangement is necessary, which it's called tasheeh. So you do an arrangement, and what you do is you times that base number, which is 12, by the asaba right here, which are 12. So now 12 times 8, you get a number of 120 ba'da tasheeh, after doing tasheeh. So now instead of the husband receiving 1/4 of 12, now the husband will receive 1/4 of 120. And that's what you see here. And it's simple here too. If you want to do like the longer math, then you can just, so the 3 was the original share. You times that by 10, and you get a 30. And now this 30 is 1/4 of that 120. So the husband gets 25%. And 2 daughters, they were receiving 8 of the 8 shares of total 12 shares. They were receiving 2/3. Again, we'll times that by 10, because right here, as we see here, again, you get a number of 80. And 80 is the 2/3 of 120. And in this case, this 40 represent the share of each daughter. So each daughter will get 40 share, 40 share. And in percentage-wise, these 2 daughters collectively will receive 67.7%, just rounding up to the nearest number. But if you want to break down that too, then it would be like 33.3% for each daughter. So that now we come down to these 10 brothers. So they were receiving, or the leftover, which was only 1. We had a problem. We could not equally distribute that 1 amongst 10 shareholders. So we had to do tasheeh. So now we times that 1 by 10, and we get a 10. So now, as you can see here, we are able to give each of the 10 brothers 1 share respectfully. And now when you add this, 30 plus 80 equals 110 plus 10 equals 120, and that's what you see up top. And by doing this arrangement, we're able to give a 1 share each to 10 of those brothers. So collectively, they will receive 10.3%. The reason why I added percent was somebody reached out and they said that it would be easier if we actually mentioned the percentage as well. So 8.3% will be shared amongst the 10 brothers, and about 0.8% each brother will be receiving. So this was the requested case number 1. I'll leave that up there. So those who requested, if they're joined in today, then they can see, and if they want to take a picture or just write down, inshallah, they can go ahead and do so. The second requested case is, let's say the mayyat was Iman. Iman passes away. She leaves behind a husband. She left behind 1 daughter and left behind 4 brothers. So it's very identical to the first. Again, the husband here will receive 1/4 rubu', and 1 daughter will receive nisf, will receive 1/2. So that's their respective share. And 4 brothers, again, they will become asaba, and they will receive leftover. So now, since we see this 4 here, rubu' is 1/4, so our base number is 4 here instead. husband is receiving one of that, and daughters, they will receive half of that four. That's what you see here, two. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. And now we have another problem that four brothers, they cannot equally, I mean, if we were to give it, yes, we might, give each of them a quarter, which pretty much is what we're getting, but it would be like difficult to solve. So it requires tasheeh again. So four brothers, we times that by the original base number, which is 4, we get a number of 16 after tasheeh. So now the husband will receive 1/4 of 16, which is 4. And so 1 times 4 equals 4. That's what we see here. And 25% is the share of the husband, whatever the estate is. And the daughter receives half. So instead of receiving half of 4, now she will receive half of 16. So 2 times 4 equals 8, which is the half of 16. And the one daughter will receive 50%. So now we have 75% already gone. We are left with only 25%. So these four brothers, we will times that whatever leftover we had, times it by 4 again, we have 4. Now we can give them all a whole full share instead of giving them 25.25, like 1/4 each. So now it'll be easier with numbers. So each brother will receive 4. Each brother will receive, 1 share, and collectively the four brothers will receive 25%, and roughly, one brother will receive 6.3. I just rounded this up, but if you were to add all this 4, it equals like 25.2%. But I just didn't want to continue those numbers, so I just rounded up. But it gives us an idea what each brother will receive. So here a couple of maslas. To understand this, let's say these four brothers, let's say 1 or 2 or 3 of them passed away after the passing of, in this case, Iman. So now let's say when these brothers, 1 or 2 or 3, passed away, and they have not yet distributed the estate, and then the couple of the brothers passed away. So what is the case scenario for that? So this is the share. Now since we have it, in front of us, in that case scenario, if 1 or 2 brothers of these have passed away, then what is supposed to be done is we will look at the waratha of those deceased brothers. If those deceased brothers have children, then the share of, let's say, this brother and this brother will be granted to their children, will just be passed on to their children. If they don't have any children, let's say those 2 brothers that passed away, they never married, they never had any children, then technically it will come down to the surviving 2 brothers. They will receive that share. But if they say that, and they're financially well off, or, any other case, or they say, what, we've already received our share, we're happy with whatever we're getting, and our brother is already gone, or our brothers are already gone to the next life or to the hereafter, so we would like to give this as sadaqah on behalf of them, then yes, they can go ahead and give that sadaqah on behalf of them, and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them. So that would be the scenario if that, unfortunately, if that is an event that takes place in somebody's case. The next requested case is case number 3 here. Let's say if the Mayyit Ali passes away and he leaves behind wife, he leaves behind 2 sons and 1 daughter. Then we know that when there are children, the wife will receive 1/8 and not 1/4. So in this case, the 2 sons and daughter, we went over that when they two come together, they will become asaba, they will become residuary shareholder, and we will count the son as 2 heads, and we will count the daughter as single. That's what you see here. So each son will be 2, and the daughter will be 1. So together, collectively, we're looking at 5 shares between the 2 sons and 1 daughter. So now let's go back to this. So the wife receives 1/8. That's what you see, that 1 here. So we had a remainder of 7. as you can see here, the base number is 8 here because of this 8 right here. Now we have a remainder of 7. Now this 7 cannot be distributed between these 5 shares, what is shared between 2 sons and 1 daughter. So we have a problem. So we take these 5 shares between the 2 sons and 1 daughter. That's what you see up top. You multiply both of them and you get a number of 40. So this is an arrangement of tasheeh again, and you get a number of 40. Now, as you can see here, we had a remainder of 7, and you just times that by 5, you get a 35. As you can see here, you times this for the wife by 5. So now the wife, instead of receiving 1/8 of 8, she will receive 1/8 of 40, which, as you can see here, will be 5/40. And now when we come down to these, the children, you times that 7 by 5, and the 5 again is 2 sons and one daughter. You get a number of 35. So 35/40 is what is shared between the 2 sons and 1 daughter. Now you have to find out the share of each person. So 35 divided by 5, you get a number of 7. So from this, we understand that, you know, this is what each of those 5 will be receiving. So now the son, we already know that we will count, because Allah has mentioned that in the Qur'an to us. So we will count the son twice for the share of 1 daughter. So the son will receive 7 times 2, 14 is the number for each son. And 7, since we're counting the daughter as single, and 7 shares will be for 1 daughter. And that you'll see here. So 14/40 is for 1 son, and 14/40 is for the next son. Collectively, they will receive 70% of the estate of Ali, if that is the case, and 35% will be each for each of the son. As for the daughter, she will receive, remember, 7/40, which is 17.5% of the estate of Ali. So when you combine this, 12.5, 17.5, that between them equals 30%, and plus 70% equals 100%. And that's how the estate will be divided if this is the case. So I'll leave that up a little bit if you want to take notes from that. So inshallah, you know, with this, we will finish our first part of laws of inheritance. And after Ramadan, inshallah, we will resume part 2, in which we will learn all of these residuary share, how the tasheeh happens, and all of the rules for these arrangements that are required, and you know what are taken into consideration. It's the difficult part of laws of inheritance, but inshallah, since it requires a lot of time, we thought that it would be better to give it enough time and do it after Ramadan instead of just rushing it and finishing it before. So inshallah, that will continue after Ramadan. But please, you know, do benefit from the current programs that are being offered by Darul Quran Foundation, by Maulana Farhan Sharif. Alhamdulillah, he's doing a wonderful job. By Maulana Umer Gohar, mashallah, he started. And inshallah, next week we will continue, or we will start our, actually the week after that, excuse me, we'll start fiqh zakat here, inshallah. I will be starting by the grace of Allah and by the du'as of everyone, inshallah. So please do benefit from that. And next week, dars, if we had received a lot of the masalas by end of next Friday, by Friday, inshallah, then we will have that next lesson. But if nobody sends us, you know, any masalas, or, you know, inshallah, we will assume that everybody has benefited enough, and inshallah, they have solved their own masalas. So, you know, next dars will be, inshallah, scheduled based on what we receive, inshallah. And jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our efforts and forgive all our shortcomings. All of the shortcomings in these durus will be shortcomings of mine. May Allah forgive me for that, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant the ummah the tawfiq to implement the teachings of this beautiful deen into our lives. And inshallah, when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make dua to Allah that may Allah be pleased with us. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.